Welcome back to episode 6 of the Completely Pointless podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today I am joined by.
Nick.
Brandon.
So, today we're going to start out with take it a little slow, take it a little easy. We're going to start out with some talk about the devil's lettuce.
Hell yeah, the devil's lettuce, dude.
Devil's lettuce, and why it should be given to infants.
Sure, he's trying to get baby lit over here, dude.
Now we were talking about Delta 8 because it's. Do you guys know how it differs from?
I actually know
from,
quite
like-
a bit about it.
All right, enlighten me because I
He's
don't
a
know.
guy.
So regular THC, because Delta 8 is THC. People get that confused a lot. They think it's CBD, but it's not. Delta 8 is THC, but it's about vaguely, roughly like half as strong. You know, as a vague kind of thing. So I guess I really don't know the legal side of that and how it makes it legal, but it's basically legal weed but half strength. So, the regular is Delta 9. If I haven't said that already.
Yeah, that's just the basic devil's lettuce.
I think they have Delta 8, 9, and 10, and 10 is very similar to 8 from what I understand. And 9 is what you would get normally in like regular, like in states that have legal marijuana.
It's legalized.
Just an FYI, we do live in the U.S. in Texas specifically, where regular weed is illegal, but Delta 8 is completely legal, and you can buy it at pretty much any vape or smoke shop,
Yeah,
as well as it.
Do you know why that is? Because I think it's something about like.
No fucking clue.
Well, I think it has something to do with it classifies it as a hemp product as long as there's not a specific amount of Delta 9 in it. So like if it's like less than a certain amount of Delta 9, it's a hemp product, which is legalized in most states.
I think that might be it, right? Because Delta 9 is a Schedule 1, which makes zero sense to me, as I'm sure everyone else is confused on that.
But it's in the name, devil's lettuce.
It's just really funny to me. I have usually on me, not like on my person, but at home, a Delta 8 vape pen.
I mean, yeah, I know I have one. And Brandon, you just purchased one today, you
I just bought one tonight.
Criminal.
But you haven't tried it yet, right?
Not really.
Okay. Because, like I say, it's about half strength, so it takes a little more. But the pins, the little vape pins, do slap.
See, I was going to say the exact opposite of my experience with it. The pins themselves, never really had much effect. I found the gummies or any of the edible forms to have just be a little. I mean, they're definitely more potent. So I guess I just need the extra kick because I'm fat. But like, it's definitely. I mean, it's like you're saying. I've heard it called diet weed, which it kind of is, but it's still freaking great, and I love it because it helps me sleep and it helps me not be just a giant ball of stress all the time.
Oh yeah, dude, it helps me chill out a lot. Like if I have a stressful day at work, I can just come home, hit the Delta 8 pin, and just like chill out. Maybe drink a beer or two. It's like really nice. And like I said from the last one, I mean, I went to Colorado and had a bender of just a week straight, basically being high constantly. So I mean, and I've noticed zero ill effects from it.
Yeah,
I'm just as stupid as I was before I went.
Can't really damage this anymore.
Yeah.
I still don't. I've never really understood why there's such a fear of marijuana. Because like if you talk to anyone that consider themselves a good person, aka religious people, they're like, yeah, no, the weed is bad for you. It'll kill you. I'm like, no, not really.
Totally won't. You literally can't overdose from weed unless you. I mean, the amount it would take you can't even consume. Like if you're an average human, I mean, even if you're some crazy person who can, I mean, you'd get so high that eventually you would just pass out. Like you physically cannot overdose on it. What are your thoughts on it, Brandon? As far as the Delta 8 thing, is it kind of like how do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, I've only done like regular weed like twice,
Okay.
but I did like the way I felt. And we had talked. I mean, it was off mic, but we had talked about Delta 8, and I was like, I should try that because like I can't get the regular stuff over here,
Yeah.
but I can get but I can go get a Delta 8, and I've got the box sitting here, and this disposable, it's less than 0.3% THC.
Yeah. Which is what
So
I
I'm
was saying. I
assuming-
think that's what makes it classified as a hemp product and not a drug.
And just to specify, whenever they do say less than 0.0 or 0.3% or point whatever it is, THC, they're talking about Delta 9.
Yeah, I kind of figured that once I knew what y'all were talking about.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I mean, I just figured I would try it. So it's like it's a decent feeling. I don't drink too much. I don't do really anything in excess, so if I can hit this a few times and feel decent, I might as well.
Yeah, honestly. That's
That's kind of how I feel about it. You know, it's like everything in moderation.
Yeah. But it's always been so weird to me that like people consider like having a few drinks every night. Yeah, that's fine. But having, just taking a hit or two off of Delta 8 or Delta 9 pen, they're like, no, that's terrible. You're a bad human being. Whereas I feel like it's just so much nicer than than being drunk all the time.
For sure, I think it's a great alternative. I mean, of course, like we talked about in the last podcast, there's really no way to like do a breathalyzer or anything right now.
Yeah.
Which I believe they're developing anyways. But I mean, you can still buy it. Like you can still get Delta 8 and get high.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like even though weed is illegal, you can still get Delta 8 and still get high. So really, in my opinion, there's not really much of a point in having weed be illegal and a Schedule 1 primarily. Whenever you have Delta 8 freely available, because you can get just as high off of Delta 8 as you can regular Delta 9. It just takes quite a bit more of it. So whether that's through combustible plant matter via a pipe, bong, or blunt joint, whatever you want to do, because you can buy the actual plant Delta 8 like THC, so
Have
you can
y'all-
actually smoke it.
Have y'all tried the actual flower?
I have, and it's ass. It does
That's-
absolutely nothing.
that's what
and
I was
you
about to
have
say.
You have to you have to tear through a whole bowl,
Yeah, and
basically, to feel even like the slightest thing.
Maybe
For me,
my
my
it was
tolerance
just
is pretty high.
the pack I got, but it smelled horrendous.
Yeah,
It
no,
smelled
it's like
so
skunk
bad.
shit.
Yeah, it was not good.
Basically, Delta 8 is what our parents would have smoked back in their day, essentially. Like regular weed.
Oh.
So it's about that strength as far as the plant goes.
Right, we got that high engineered strong stuff now.
Oh, dude, yeah, weed now is fucking crazy, a hell of a lot stronger than it used to be. Oh man, they've come a long way with it.
Yeah, but I feel like, and maybe I've been influenced by all the media, but I feel like it was more popular back in like the 70s, right? Isn't that like the whole thing? Is that like in the 70s, all them hippies smoking the weeds?
See, that's what I think a lot of the whole political debate on it is. It's just stigma from their days, right? I mean, a lot of these people who are really against it have never tried it and would never try it because of, religion
because
or
of the stigma.
family upbringing, or there's so many reasons.
Yeah, they've made a stigma that now reinforces the stigma so that none of them do it so they can't disprove the stigma.
In my opinion, weed being illegal is very un-American. I mean, this is the land of the free, but if you thoroughly look at it, I mean, Amsterdam is probably one of the most free places as far as because they have legal prostitution, legal weed, legal. I mean, you can do most everything there.
Yeah.
So it's in my opinion very un-American. You aren't free to
Yeah.
do as you please. And I'm libertarian personally, so I like for as long as you're not hurting anybody physically or emotionally or in any. So I mean, emotionally is kind of one of those touch and go kind of things because like you shouldn't, you should be able to get your feelings hurt, but physically mainly, if you're not hurting anybody physically, I don't think there's a problem.
Yeah. Well, like you should be able to get your feelings hurt, but you should also be able to like, hey, those people don't think what I think. I'm gonna go to the other side of the room.
Yeah, just don't talk to them or be
take
like,
your own action.
agree to disagree.
Yeah, well, that's like a big problem with a lot of people I talk with, at least, is that they just don't want to have the possibility of being convinced, so they just refuse to listen to anything you say.
Right. It's kind of one of those things you're so stuck in your ways you can't even like perceive a different opinion or hear one.
Yeah,
But Brandon, you came from a pretty. I mean, you and me both. All three of us came from a very conservative. All three of us came from very conservative families. If I can talk. So the fact that all three of us now, are pro marijuana, I think the age of anti-marijuana is going. I think people are starting to realize that through smoking it and using it and here and there, it's not a gateway drug. It's not a problem. It's not something you can get addicted to. Really, it's way healthier for you to ingest THC via edibles than it is to drink.
Yeah, or smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things that people do. I mean, I know a lot of people who do whippets and shit like that, and it's like,
whippets are fucked off.
Yeah,
dude, whippets will fuck you up. It straight up kills brain cells.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I also
like actively.
You go ahead, Brandon. Mine's kind
Oh,
of.
yeah. I was just kind of reinforcing that it actively kills brain cells. Like as you were doing it, brain cells are dying.
Oh yeah. But brain cells die all the time. You don't need them all.
Yeah, but like extra ones.
How do y'all feel about marijuana being like a Schedule 1 drug? I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, that's where I was about to go with it. Is I know some people that all they really wanted to do, they want to just smoke some weed, relax. But then they had to go find their shady drug dealer on the side of the street that would give them some weed, and they're like, well, since I'm now doing this illicit hard drug of weed, I'll just try some cocaine. And it's it's since you're like making it, you're clumping it in with all these other really hard, really bad drugs for you. It puts it on the same level. So then those people that go in knowing that weed's not that bad for you, they go in thinking, well, if weed's not that bad for you, all these other drugs must also not be that bad for you. And so it's like, I think that's what kind of facilitates the gateway drug mentality of it. Is it's not that it's a gateway drug, it's that it's putting you into contact with people that do these other drugs. So I guess I'm kind of just describing a gateway drug.
Well,
but
just to touch on that topic for a second, because I haven't, thought popped up. It being a Schedule 1 drug and being illegal will make you have to interact with drug dealers to obtain it.
Yeah.
If it was legal, like in Colorado, I went to a store where there were employees there. I mean, it's a business. You get it legitimately. You don't have to deal with shady characters. That try to offer you other things, and they're very like on it, dude. Like whenever they checked at my ID, they were like, they looked at my face, looked at the ID, did like a double take. Pretty intense, but it's really like sure. It being illegal, to touch on it being a gateway drug in that respect, you have to interact with these shady characters who do other drugs and sell other drugs to get it. So you're being put in that situation where you have to be around those people, and a lot of people don't have the fortitude to be like, oh well, if you go to buy weed and the dude's like, oh hey, you want some coke or you want to take a bump real quick?
They're like, oh well, might as well, right?
Yeah, a lot of people are like, well, I'm buying weed, and dude's offering me a bump, dude. Hell yeah, let's do it. Preface, I've never done any hard drugs. Just to let y'all know.
Are you sure, though?
Yeah, positive. Drug dealers aren't going to lace any weed with anything, because they're not going to give you free product. The fact that people are worried about getting laced weed, the only time that happens is at parties, whenever people bring their own shit. So, I wouldn't worry about, like, that's not something that happens. Drug dealers aren't going to give you free drugs. That doesn't
Yeah.
happen, and they will tell you if it's in there, and they'll charge you extra.
Eh,
Well, they'll give you free drugs to get you
for the first
fucking
one.
hooked, and then you buy more.
I mean, do they though?
True,
I
true,
mean,
that could happen.
again, I've never bought
I mean, this is all theoretical.
drugs,
I mean, I don't know exactly.
but
So
I feel like if I was selling drugs, I would be like, if someone took the time to find me selling drugs, I don't need to get them hooked. They're already here. They took the time. They know they broke some laws. So at this point, they're already in it. So why would they not just commit and get some of them that good booger sugar?
sure. I mean, it just depends on the kind of person you are, I guess. So I mean,
Yeah. I don't know. I just
you know,
it's definitely it's like one of those arguments you make with kids a lot. Where if you ever try to tell them not to do something, they're gonna do it. So you making it illegal and hard to find is just gonna make them try harder to get it.
yeah,
Like
true.
even with like alcohol and stuff, they quote unquote limit that to 21 years old, at least here. But that never works. Everyone I know drank before the age of 21.
So to kind of move off the topic of drugs and marijuana, real quick. Did y'all hear or see? I just saw this today after I came home on Russell Brand's YouTube channel. He was talking about how it came out that Trump actually was spied on by the Clinton administration.
Oh
Or
really?
the Clinton, like Hillary Clinton's election team or whatever. One of her old lawyers from like a case in like 2016 or something worked with some other dude in his company, and they were like using their, I guess, ability to access these certain servers and such
Yeah.
to spy on Trump. Yeah. So the whole time he was saying I'm being spied on, he's telling the truth, which my opinion leads to a bigger problem. I'm not a Trump supporter at all. Like I thought he did a lot of things wrong. He did some things good, but a lot of things wrong.
And mostly just
And
uh,
every president's been
every
kind of
president's been
trash.
thrown. Well, I
Every
mean,
politician has been kind of trash.
yeah, no, they definitely have. Because they're just a figurehead. They're just a celebrity at this point, Like,
Nah, dude. All they're just there to keep themselves there for as long as they possibly can. Because I mean, even after you're done being the president, they still get paid.
yeah, and like,
Why?
yeah, I don't know. Well, but it's so like, yeah, if he was being spied on, but who isn't being spied on? Like,
Fair enough.
No, the thing is that they were like they had like access to the White House's phones and shit, and Trump's I think Trump Tower. They had access to his servers there and his phones and shit there, and his emails and stuff. They
yeah,
could
but
watch
again,
what he like browsed on the internet. So I'm sitting here thinking like, how much more of this kind of corruption goes on a higher level that they're working harder to hide, right? Because if this kind of stuff gets found out, spying on people is one of those things where it's not like, yeah, it's bad. It's totally bad. But there are way worse things, I believe, going on in these big political parties and such, and just in Congress and Senate and all the whole political spectrum entirely.
yeah, I don't know. To me, it's just everyone gets spied on. Everything you do on your phone, on the computer, this podcast right now is all being listened to by someone.
Oh, I'm
that
sure.
someone
But
may
we're
be
just
a computer, but
the difference is though we're just like regular dudes, right? I mean, we all
yeah,
all three of us work regular 9 to 5 jobs. We don't make six figures. We're not crazy. We're just average Joes. But the fact that this is happening on such a with such powerful people, spying on people really isn't that hard, and it's been being done. It's been a thing that's been happening for a long time. So what other kind of stuff is going on behind the scenes that we aren't aware of, that a lot of people aren't aware of, but only these set politicians, these big powerful people. What about like the 1% who are super wealthy? What are they doing? It's kind of
yeah.
one of those. I want the juicy details, dude.
Well, I mean, but also there could be an argument made of shouldn't their actions be watched? And he's responsible for millions of lives.
Well, they
And
did it so they could find dirt on him. That was the whole reason.
yeah, I guess that's fair.
Which,
well, but you also
I mean-
have that report that came out like a couple days or weeks ago about like people in the White House reporting that Trump was like ripping up documents and flushing documents, and one even said he tried to eat one at one point to like keep it from like getting like signed into the archives, which is something that he's contracted to do, obligated to do.
Contractually obligated.
Yeah, and so like I don't know. I think no one should have their privacy, marked on, but everyone does.
Yeah, I mean, privacy for me is kind of one of those things. It's like, I mean, nobody really has privacy since the Patriot Act. I mean, that was the end of privacy entirely.
Yeah.
So anything that you do or say, or it's one of those things.
I mean, but being just the figurehead of an entire country, wouldn't you watch that guy?
For sure,
Like-
for sure, right? Like they're being watched, but I mean, wouldn't you still want to have a person? Oh well, actually,
I don't know, man.
how about that's one of the caveats
Yeah.
to being the president. Every single thing you do, say, and watch is monitored.
I mean, that kind of should be.
Dude,
like
new TV series, new reality series,
is
the president.
the president. Oh God.
Well, you got to be careful though, because I mean, there's a lot of confidential information that they view and deal with that shouldn't
Yeah.
be just available to the public eye, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I would release it as the president, but then it's just like a 24 stream of somebody that looks kind of like him sitting on a toilet.
Yeah.
Taking the fattest shit of their life. Like it's one of
Oh,
those
yeah.
you have to use the like grab bars. Shit's explosive.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know.
God.
I kind of think people should realize that once you attempt to take any step into the public space, that could be being the president, or that could be starting a podcast you're putting up on the internet. You have to realize that you forfeit a lot of your privacy and in some cases rights just to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, right, like because if you're going to be in that position of power, I mean, you should have to like go. So it's like Congress and or Senate members or whatever. They're trying to get to where they can't invest in stocks. They can't utilize
Yeah.
the stock market because I've seen a lot of things with Pelosi and other. Pelosi's just the main one that I've seen.
Yeah, they're just dumping.
And her
like,
husband. Well, there was some company I forget. They just signed a new military contract with the government, or a new government contract. And right as they did that, or right after, right before, like within days, Pelosi and her husband or whoever, a bunch of political figures had invested into that company. Right
Yeah.
after or before they got a government contract.
Yeah,
If that
like,
not insider trading, I don't know what is.
right. Like they knew what was happening.
Yeah, they're not idiots. Obviously, they're not idiots. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
it's one of those things.
Yeah, because it definitely should be. It's never going to be, but it should be. Once you've dedicated your life to public service, aka being any kind of government official, you kind of have to sacrifice being any kind of rich, right? like you should just be like, okay, I'm working for the betterment of my country, not for money.
Yeah. And that's where I think the corruption comes from, is money and power, right? So, I guess I really strongly believe in term limits. I think every single person in any kind of political position should have a term limit,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
right? And there should be a minimum amount of times that you can be elected as well. That way, we can't have just these people who continuously get reelected and reelected and reelected, and they just are in there their whole lives.
Yeah.
And that's what we do with the president. Why the fuck is it any different?
Right, because
for
isn't
anybody
it like
else.
the judge or like Supreme Court judges
Or
that
for
are
life.
for life?
Yep.
But they're also, they're all like 80, so life is still only like 8 years.
God,
Well,
I mean,
but-
they're just all boomers. Go ahead,
And
Brandon.
everybody's like, "Oh no, they hire plenty of young people." Look at the average age of the U.S. fucking Senate.
Yeah, it's old.
Do you know a ballpark of
Or,
what that
sorry.
figure is?
The House of Representatives. No, which one is
Congress?
the Senate? Congress.
Do you know
I am the
government?
Clearly, I don't.
Well, so that's like
Um,
one of the things. Or finish what you were saying, Brandon.
No, but they're kind of close. But the average age of, I think it's the Senate, is like 63 or 64.
Yeah, it's old.
Good lord.
So I know all of this because I helped my girl write. She was taking a government class.
Nice.
So I helped her with one of her papers.
Learning.
But it's the majority of it is like you got a bunch, like a few really old people, and then a bunch of like 50 to 70, and then like 4 people under 40.
Yeah. Well, so
Jesus.
one thing I've never
Yeah.
really understood, why is it so old? Like, why are they all so old, right? Like, shouldn't it be the majority of the population is what they're representing? So, I mean, the majority of the population is young people or youngish people, because all them old people are dying. So
Yeah.
shouldn't it be full of young people?
Yeah, it really should. But the
It
reason that
should.
a lot of young people can't get in is because these old farts won't move out. It's kind of like if you're working at a job and you have someone over you, and the only way you can move up is until they either move up or find another job or get fired.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's basically the same thing, which is really annoying.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh yeah.
But the crazy thing about it is they have no term limit at all.
Right.
Yeah.
They can run from the time I think Senate is like minimum age of 28 or 30, something. But then you can, if you get reelected, you can stay there from that first day till you die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to get reelected.
So on that
And
point, go ahead, Brandon.
And people argue like, oh, well, they'll get voted out or this or that, but there's people that have been on it for like
Their whole lives.
18 consecutive years.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
means
yeah,
2 years here, 2 years there, but it's 18.
Yeah.
Like they just keep going.
There
Are
forever.
you talking about terms or years? Like 18 terms or 18 years? Because I know
18 years.
Okay. And did you know? So on that point of the age of people in politics who run the country and such, do you guys know what an air traffic controller is? Right? Y'all know what that is?
The dudes that
Yeah.
control the airplanes.
Yeah. They're air traffic controllers. They control the air traffic of planes coming into airports and going, and flying above or whatever.
Yeah.
The maximum age you can be to be an air traffic controller is like 54 or 53, or maybe even lower. The reason for that, and I don't remember the minimum age. I don't know if there is a minimum age because you have to go through quite a bit to become an air traffic controller,
Mm-hmm.
like a test and all this such. I don't think you need a degree, but I think it helps. But the minimum age or maximum age for them, they have a maximum age for air traffic controllers. So once you reach a certain age as an air traffic controller, you have to retire or find another job. You cannot be an air traffic controller anywhere else ever. in the U.S. at least. I don't know what it is in other countries, but in the U.S. there's a maximum age for it.
I mean,
Why is that? Because and the reason for that is because your cognitive ability starts it statistically, and through information, it starts to decline. Of course. Why is that no different for politicians? Why is there an exception made there? Because the people who are running the country have a lot more power than air traffic controllers. Why is that
a thing?
it's ridiculous to me.
And it's like, because I see a lot of times, you saw it all the time with Trump, you see it all the time with Biden. They just say some outrageous, stupid shit that I'm just like,
dude,
who in their right mind would say this? Like, it makes no sense. And you're supposed to be like the most responsible American, and you're just saying some absolute garbage. Like,
well, what frustrates me is like they're out of touch just from being politicians because they make so much money and don't have to deal with regular people problems.
Yeah.
That they're out of touch in that respect. And then they're so fucking old that they're out of touch with, younger people like us or anyone around our age. It makes zero sense to have them in power. The power structure of America is so flawed and retarded. It makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, it really does. I don't know.
So,
just let the children rule.
Speaking of old people and old things, I was kind of wanting to get y'all's opinion on newer cars, because my personal opinion is I prefer older things, like older cars, because my own reasons, which I'll get into later. But I was really curious what y'all think about newer cars, just in general.
Brandon, you're probably more opinionated on this than I am, so.
I would assume, yeah. I would assume Brandon has some pretty strong opinions about this one.
Yes.
My opinion, just to kind of sum it up, is I think any technological advancement is good technological advancement.
Okay. I kind of want to dig into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'll remember that, and we can dig on that after we're done talking about the cars.
It was threatening. I'll remember
that. Its intent was sharp.
So Brandon, how do you feel about newer cars? What are your opinions? You can get as specific or as vague as you want.
Okay, so I'll go super vague first, and then I'll get super opinionated.
Bet, I'm ready.
Bad.
All right.
All right. Now, why do you have a bad opinion?
So, but the vagueness of it could go either way. Are old cars bad or new cars bad? No, I'm just fucking with you. Yeah, there's a lot of points I can argue with this. I will start with the drastic difference in quality then versus quality a little bit ago versus quality today. Okay. So all of these companies are they make the best car. Every single one of them. If you ask their in-house people.
I was gonna say, it's all a matter of opinion.
In their advertisements and such, they're like...
Every ad is like, the ultimate ride, the ultimate screen.
Just to touch on it real quick, advertisements wear me out. Oh my god, because all it is a company jerking themselves off for like 2 minutes, and I'm like, you didn't give me any useful information about your product at all, except you jerked yourself off for 3 minutes, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
They're like, look at this car driving through a countryside. Oh, that's nice. I'll be stuck in traffic for 3 hours if I'm in that car.
Dude, these car advertisements wear me out. Oh my god.
Yeah, for sure.
Chevy kicks my ass. Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, but the TikToks about them make me laugh real hard.
Oh yeah, new Chevys are junk. Especially the cars.
Yeah. So quality, like way back in the day. So we're saying like 30s, 40s, shit like that. Quality, they're getting the hang of it, so it's not gonna be the best, right?
Mhm.
And then you move into like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, a little bit, but like golden era was 50s, 60s, 70s.
That's whenever that was like pre-emissions. Everything was making dickloads of power, drinking fuel, running on melted up dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, but just in the sheer like construction of the vehicles,
Yeah, they're built like brick shithouses.
they're built. I mean, granted, they were built with the current technology, so they were all kind of shaped. I mean, they were all shaped differently, but if you look bare guts, they all look kind of similar. There's some
Yeah, they're all
steel
body on
posts.
frame.
Yeah, they sit on a long steel frame. So, but they were built well. Hence
Oh
why
yeah.
you see, I mean, of course, it's less and less because people are either redoing them to keep in the garage to drive on Sunday, or people don't care about them, so they just get driven into the dirt and end up getting crushed. But the amount of like 50, 60, 70 cars were designed and built to look fantastic.
Oh yeah, dude. The
Arguably, I think they look
interiors,
fantastic.
exteriors. Oh yeah, dude. They just looked so much better than today's cars. As far as aesthetics go, man, we do not have it down
Oh
in
no,
like
not at
today.
all.
See, I feel
Granted, I
like a
think
lot of this is
the
based on y'all's
worst.
opinions as car people.
I'm
Yeah, but I
getting
mean,
there.
if you ask just about anybody, you show them like an old Mustang or an old Camaro or an old Corvette, and they're all gonna be. I mean, even like an old Impala. Like Impalas today look like trash in comparison to what they used to look like.
For sure.
Like it just the aesthetics department. They're just not as it's become corporate.
Hmm. I would say
And
they're just
Jeremy,
trying new stuff.
But I mean, to be fair, I mean cars
I-
sell for a reason.
back then they were trying new stuff.
Exactly.
True.
They tried it then.
And-
It was new then. Now it's not new. And they got to try other stuff.
I hate
think-
you.
What?
And
Why?
because I haven't even been arguing how they look.
That's fair.
I'm saying
Well,
build quality.
so then let's talk about the build quality because we kind of touched
Yes.
on it. Was it last week, the week before? Like, yeah, they were built very sturdy, but any car crash you had in those things, even if you're going 15 miles an hour, ended in a fatality most of the time because of the just sheer whiplash you got from it. So, like
Pro
cars
tip.
today, you hit something going 5 miles an hour and they crumple because they're designed to crumple so that you don't crumple.
Pro tip though, don't crash.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the
Wow.
basic thing, yeah.
Get fucking womped.
Yeah, just don't run
And-
into each other.
And I'm not even really talking about technical design. I'm talking about just how they're built. Not
Yeah.
that they were built to fucking run through 18 brick walls or built to fucking crumple in a piece of paper. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about sheer build quality. The way panels fit, the way doors close, the way dashes go. They were arguably better back in the day for a normal person's car.
They could also take way more abuse. I mean, if you look at modern cars today, I mean, just a mom and her 3 kids can ruin a new car. But back in the day, you would have to really womp on one and just not give a single solitary fuck about it to really tear it up.
Yeah.
Engines, transmissions, everything back in the day used to run and last way longer.
Yeah. Well, see that I think that also kind of starts to play into like y'all are saying, um, there's more technology in them now, so they break more, right? Like there's all the
Mhm.
sensors, there's all the mission checks, there's all this stuff, and I mean y'all are taking that as a bad thing, but I would argue that it's a good thing. Like, yeah, there's the classic saying of the more moving parts there are, the more things can go wrong. So yeah,
Yep.
these new cars are going to break more often because they have more stuff in them. And while not all of it's perfect, it's all for the most part working towards trying to get a like completely efficient vehicle.
Yeah. It's well, I mean, it depends though, because I mean, even in the so as an example, I mean, my buddy has a '91. I think it's a GMC Sierra 2500 with a 6.2 liter diesel, 4L80E, everything. It's 3/4 ton pickup. I have a 2001 uh, Chevy Silverado 2500 HD. Granted, it has an 8.1 liter big block and an Allison transmission, and they're both work trucks, but that one gets like 23 mpg on the highway, a 3/4 ton pickup, which diesels today get really good gas mileage.
Yeah.
But this is a naturally aspirated, super simple. You can fix it with a rubber band and a paper clip. I mean, the thing just doesn't stop. These new diesels are so overly complicated with everything they have in them, and even with my big block gas motor, it's super simple, super bare bones. You aren't gonna. It has very little emission systems. I think it has an EGR, two cats, and that's about it
Probably
as far
doesn't
as
even have
emissions
an
goes.
EGR.
I don't know if it. I don't think it does.
I don't
I'm
know.
not sure on that, but
I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I can honestly 90% it does not.
well, it's what is it? It's right. It's like the middle point between OBD1 and OBD2. It's like in between those, so it's missing some things to make it full OBD2, and makes it just way simpler. I really haven't had any issues with it since I bought it, and
Yeah. Yeah, but I
And
mean, you were arguing or complaining earlier, not complaining, but just stating that gasoline is very expensive, and it is.
thanks. Yeah, it is
And
surprising.
even like a lot of cars, they're trying to work towards better fuel efficiency a lot now, or at least it seems that way. Some people probably don't really give a shit, but uh, they're kind of working towards more fuel efficient, so then you wouldn't have to pay for gas. So, like in that scenario, when they're attempting to theoretically save you money where you don't have to spend as much on gas. So then that would be a good thing, though, right?
It is, but in the money you save on gas, you're gonna spend on repairing that vehicle.
but I would also argue that so
Like I'll
Nick
say real quick,
Nick
just to
oh
get
go
it out of
ahead.
the way. So Brandon, keep that thought. I just want to get it
Yeah.
out of the way because it's in my head right now. My vehicle, my truck, my '01 Silverado, has had very minimal maintenance done to it through its whole life. Like since I've owned it, which has only been 7 or 8 months, I think. I think it's 8 now. Um, I, I pulled. I didn't know it had um, interior air filters. So your
Mhm.
cabin air filters is what they're called. So all modern cars, all modern everything now has in cabin air filters. My buddy's '99 GMC 3500 doesn't. His '91 doesn't. Most older cars don't. I pulled those bastards out, dude. Oh my god, they were caked up with dirt.
Disgusting.
The cabin air filters, that is a very, very, very basic maintenance item. It's literally one screw. You pull off this little plastic cover thing on the bottom of the air box and pull out two air filters. It's super easy to do, like costs nothing. that wasn't done for the life of this vehicle. I guarantee it with how bad those things looked. And the fucker still runs like a clock and makes so much power. Oh, I love it. And that's kind of what I get into about cars not lasting as long and needing more maintenance now, because in the 8 months I've owned it, I've had to do very little to it as far as like having to. I did a full front suspension rebuild, bushings, struts. I mean, I did new rear struts too, but I haven't touched the rear otherwise, except for I changed the diff fluid and did a new gasket on the diff cover. But I've had to do. All in all, I got the truck. I traded in my Golf, my 2014 Volkswagen Golf for it. I got $5,000 for the Golf, so I kind of lost my ass on that. I knew I was going to, but I didn't care because the Golf was costing me so much more money to maintain and own than my truck does cost me gas. Which may be it's probably a point because it's German. As a word of advice to anybody out there, never buy a German daily driver. Oh my god. If you're going to, don't touch it. Do not touch it. Only take it to the dealership for any maintenance, because the money you're going to spend in like tools and parts is going to be the cost of taking it to the dealership to get work on. That's how expensive they are to own and like modify or maintain.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like I said earlier, I think all technological advancement is good, but it's not always effective.
God, I want to argue with you on that so bad.
How?
I'm gonna wait
Why?
though.
About,
What were you gonna say, Brandon, real quick? Because I know I interrupted you. If you remember.
Okay. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Good. So Jeremy was arguing about fuel efficiency.
Okay.
And just keep in mind, Nick drives a full-size pickup.
Oh, it's just to give our listeners an idea of what I drive. It's an 01 Silverado 2500 HD. So it's a 3/4 ton pickup. It's an extended cab long bed. It weighs about 5,600 pounds with a big block Vortec 8100 Allison and a 14 bolt rear 2-wheel drive. So it's a hefty fucker. The thing's big too. It makes that 91 2500 look like an S10. It makes it look absolutely tiny. It's hilarious how small old trucks are. So go ahead, Brandon, just to throw that out there.
So he drives that. How many miles to a gallon you get on average? Just commuting.
I haven't done the actual calculations, so I don't know what my truck gets. But what most other trucks of the same spec get, the best I can get is 12 mpg.
Okay. So I'll even go back to my old pickup, which
also got like 12 mpg.
It is a 99 Ram 1500 with a 5.9 gas in it. 4-speed or auto transmission, 2-wheel drive.
Just real quick, how much power do you think it made? Like horsepower and torque, if you can remember. Because mine makes about 455 pound-feet of torque at like I think 3,200 RPM.
Yeah, I think mine was like right close to 300 horse and either right under or right over 400 pounds of torque.
I think mine's like 330 or 350 horsepower.
Yeah.
So I'm out of my fucking 8.1 compared to your 5.9. Yeah, we're getting similar fuel economy, but you know,
yeah,
those Hemis really like to drink.
Oh yeah. So at 99, whatever, I got on average, just commuting, 12 miles to the gallon, 12 and a half. I got on average driving down the highway, 12 and a half. It didn't matter how I drove that truck. It would get 12 and a half.
Yep.
Always.
Okay. But let me throw this at you, Brandon.
Nah, shut the fuck up.
All right,
let me finish my point.
Let me disprove it.
Okay, so on average, a truck of that generation would get 12 and a half miles to the gallon.
Yeah. Same thing for like a thing, just to throw it out there, basically the same thing for a small block Chevy at the time.
Yeah.
They drank gas.
Yeah. So fast forward 21 years. So actually 22 years. We'll go back to 2021. An average truck with similar size motor to mine, spec the same, got an average of 16 miles to the gallon city, 18 miles to the gallon highway. So Jeremy's arguing that we're going for fuel efficiency, we're going for this. Cool. In cars, that's the case. In trucks, not at all. Because you're telling me over 21 years of innovation, we got 3.5 miles to the gallon improvement in the city and 5.5 on the highway.
What's insane
over
is
21 years of innovation.
right.
That's
Your
fair.
truck. Just to touch on it real quick. Your truck was a 99, mine's an 01. 2 years difference. Same thing with Sam's 3500 that he has. It's a 2-year difference. The leaps and bounds that were made in those 2 years are insane. My 8.1 big block gets similar MPG to your 5.9 small block.
Yeah.
And in 4 years, we can't we can't make vast improvements. I understand it gets harder and harder to make improvements on that stuff, but I believe because they're choking things down with emissions so badly that we can't actually harness true really good fuel economy. Because if you look at it, people are doing these hydrogen equipped trucks, like where they'll make their own hydrogen like tanks and batteries in the rear of their trucks or whatever to make them run 100% efficiently, and they get amazing fuel economy. It's because of planned obsolescence that vehicles don't have good true fuel economy nowadays. Because back in the fucking 80s and 90s, they had cars that were getting 40, 30 mpg. Why is that still the same? Why are Toyota, who's the number one automotive manufacturer in the world, only able to squeeze out like 30 average combined mpg from their 4 cylinders?
Lobbying.
Yeah.
It's all about because you can't make cars too efficient, because if they get too efficient, you aren't making money on gas.
That's why we need to transition to electrical vehicles.
So
yeah, but do you know how you charge electric vehicles? Diesel
yes, but once we
have
move
talked
away
about
from
this part of it.
we definitely have, but once you move away from your having to drive down to the gas station to pick up your gas, like it's not going to make any difference really with emissions or anything. But once you get gas out of everybody's mind, hopefully it'll start cutting it back. Is my hope. There's no proof on it, but let me disprove all of your facts right now, Brandon, with one simple phrase. Why do you need a truck? Don't drive a truck.
And I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't. Right now, I drive a 2015 Volkswagen Jetta.
I'm just gonna
No
say
shame.
I'm gonna say it real quick.
Because
Shame.
Gay.
because yes, I was at a point that I did not require a truck, and I did not. I couldn't afford to keep a truck. Versus my base model 2015 Volkswagen Jetta that gets 29 miles to the gallon in the city and 35 gallons on the highway. Because it was affordable and I didn't require a truck. So fuck you, Jeremy. Why do you drive a truck?
Well, that's what I'm saying is, like, I have a truck.
I did swap.
I have a truck, and I shouldn't have a truck. There's literally no reason for me to have a truck. Nicholas.
No, you got to come pick up my TVs.
Well, but even then, like, one of the arguments I hear a lot when it comes to electric vehicles is, you can't take it on long road trips. It's like, then rent a gas-powered car for that one trip you take every 5 years. And boom, problem solved. Like you're spending like renting cars isn't that expensive if you only need it that one time when you go on a trip, like even once a year. That's not that much. Like,
Yeah, but there's a certain kind of pride you get from driving. I mean, like we went to Colorado recently, as I've stated plenty of times. I know I like to repeat myself, but we took Sam's 99 3500 Sierra with the 6.2 liter Detroit diesel in it. Those things are known to be unreliable, known to explode, but there's that pride. We made it all the way there and back, which is an immense amount of driving for something that old. Which it has like 180 something thousand, probably 190 something thousand on it now. And the thing is, what, 22 years old now?
Mhm.
It ran all the way there, transported us around in Colorado. We got all the way back, and the only thing that happened was the alternator like gave out. The bearings in the alternator basically destroyed themselves, all of them. And it's because it was original. And it took us 30 minutes to fix. Two of us walked to the O'Reilly's, got an alternator. While two of them pulled the old one off, and then we installed it. Off we went. It's that. It's so cheap and easy to work on older vehicles that if you can find one that's not just beat to hell and back, you're gonna save so much money in maintenance because you can do it all yourself. It's really easy, and they're so old. You can find any information, any how-to videos on YouTube. It's honestly, I feel like it's a lot of people's complacence that say that stops them from saving money. Like if more people would actually work on their own vehicles, we would save so much money. Because
yeah,
just labor
but
alone is so expensive.
I feel like we should attempt to move away from just mass transportation in general. Like,
I think we should. Well, I
we
see what you're saying, right? You're saying move away from like having everybody have their
yeah,
own cars.
like especially here in Texas, since everything's so spread out and everything's so big. If I'm going to the convenience store down the street, I mean it's like a 10-minute walk if even. I'm gonna take my car. There's no question about it. That's just what I'm gonna do. Like I feel like there should be.
How far is it?
I mean, dude, it's 4 blocks.
I'm gonna hit you with your
Yeah.
own logic. I'm gonna hit you with your own logic.
Go for
all
it,
right?
please do.
Get a bicycle.
I'm fat.
You would be less fat.
But that's what I'm saying is it should be you should walk or you should take a bike or do something other than drive there. Even like going to work, I feel like public transportation should be a bigger thing. Or cities should just be set up in a way that it's easier to walk than it is to drive.
Do you know it's actually been statistically proven that people the rate of depression and mental issues increases the more urbanized the area you live in is?
What do you mean by urbanized?
Like living in a city. Like if you live in downtown Dallas versus where I live out in out in like I'm like north of Dallas, like 45 to an hour minute, like 45 minutes to an hour away.
Mhm.
So my area is not rural, but it's more rural than downtown Dallas, which I have a coworker who's moving down there, and I told him I was like, I wouldn't do that because it's not good for people's mental health to live in areas like that because you're out of nature, you're getting yourself away from what's natural. Essentially, it's all becoming concrete jungle.
Yeah.
And that has been proven statistically to be bad for mental health.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when people say, "Oh, it's in my nature." That's because people are supposed to be in nature.
So
And
I
it's
see what's
also, Jeremy, been proven that if given pretty scenery, people will more likely walk the path.
And yeah, but that's what I'm saying, Brandon, is cities should be designed with scenery and walkways and bike paths and all this stuff, but instead we build 5-lane interstate highways so that you can get there
I agree,
faster.
that's
Jeremy,
stupid.
building a city with parks and all of this stuff is inefficient technological advancement.
But it can
That
be
5-lane highway is technological advancement.
unless you use technology to
Unless
you could use technology to design better like systems, right? Like faster walkways, better bridges. You can compact cities so that they're taller, not wider. Like, you could do all this stuff so that they're better, and then you use your technology to put, gardens and all these things so that they're greener. And it's like Nick was saying, better for mental health. So now everybody's happier, and we all hate Ford.
See,
mean,
I kind of want
you
to
hate
touch on the
Ford.
technological advancement because you're all for technological advancement,
All
right?
about it.
Yeah. So the German, that's kind of a German like thing, right? They were
How
all
dare
about
you?
trying to
Just kidding.
not Nazi Germany, like
I know.
just Germany in general. Like German cars are
Modern
usually more
Germany.
complicated. Like if you look at cultures that are all about extreme like technological advancements, like that's what they really push for, is like pushing the boundaries of what we can do. All of those cars are super unreliable. Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, all of these cars that really push for technological advancements don't sell. Toyota, who does the same thing for 15 years straight, like the Tacoma, sells like hotcakes. You know why? Because it never quits.
Yeah.
And I agree with that we should be advancing technology. I totally agree. But I think what's more important is refining what we already have.
But that is a
Now,
form of
I want to know how you
technological
feel.
advancement.
Well, in a way, right?
To make you're
'cause-
refining to make it better, which is
right,
advancement.
but I don't agree with like constantly trying new things. Right, constantly trying new things, constantly trying new things. I feel like it's a waste of resources, a waste of energy. I feel like we should advance a little bit, refine it to perfection, and or as close to, because there's a law of diminishing returns, so you'll hit that.
Yeah.
But we should do technological advancements, then refine the hell out of it to where it's just unbreakable, unkillable, you know. And
Yeah,
I feel
but
like
you're saying
because
like refining
technological,
doesn't take resources, but I would say that refining is the process of technological advancement, and it
it
does take
is,
resources and it does take manpower, and it's something we should do.
it is, but in today's day and age, if you look at modern cars, technological advancements like the switch to CVTs has been terrible. What I'm thinking is make it work properly and well before you implement it. Right? Like there's R&D, of course, but Nissan is a great example. Their CVTs absolutely fucking suck. Like they are basically just grenades in a car. It's honestly embarrassing. I would be embarrassed to be Nissan because of their CVTs. They're notoriously that bad. Nissan automatic transmissions in general are that bad, and automatic transmissions are not a new thing, and neither are CVTs.
No,
So
CVTs are old as shit. It's
that's
too
what I'm
mother. Well,
saying.
I mean, the
Like,
new ones
where
are
is
complicated as fuck, but original CVT was two motherfucking pulleys that move.
Yeah, I'm saying like if I'm totally down with technological advancement, but really there hasn't been any crazy technological advancements in the automotive industry. I mean, turbos aren't old or turbos aren't new. Nothing that they're really doing is new. Electric isn't new. I mean, technology. I understand what you're saying with technological advancements. Advancing on the current technology is also part of that, which they've done, but poorly.
Yeah. Well, but how do you know it's poor? How do you know it's a bad design until you've tried it?
R&D. You try it before
That-
you like release it to the public.
You're just saying all of these things that are technological advancement, but you're just putting them under different names. I have when I say technological advancement, I have a very very broad scope of what I'm saying. Like,
Okay.
when the cavemen rubbed two sticks together, that's technological advancement. Like
True, yeah,
anything, if you took a cell phone and you were like, I wonder if this cell phone could be improved by sticking it in a microwave. And then you try it. Obviously, it doesn't work. We know that now. But somebody had to try that, so that is technological advancement.
Yeah. I see that. I'm just saying we should be focusing on certain types of technological advancements more so than what we are currently or what is currently prioritized.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, we definitely put a lot of focus on the wrong things, but I still don't think we're at the age, kind of like, the Renaissance. they were just doing whatever the heck they could think of with art. You know, it was, you want to draw some naked dudes, draw some naked dudes. But I feel like we're kind of in a technological renaissance, to be, up my own ass about it. And so I don't think there's any harm in just trying everything. Anything you can think of, anything you want to try, you should do it.
That's an interesting point of view, though. I mean, I agree to a certain extent, but I guess I'm a little more conservative in my viewpoint because I am a very big fan of Toyota and what they do, and have been very disappointed with the domestic manufacturers and what they've been doing. So, what seems to work the best as far as the automotive industry specifically, since that's what we've been discussing, is that just keeping things how they are and making small minor improvements to the way those little things work is kind of a better practice than to constantly try new things. I do agree we should try new things, but kind of at a more slowed down rate. Right, because like the German manufacturers are constantly trying new things and constantly pushing the boundaries, which is good in its own right. But as far as like for the consumer, I think it negatively impacts them unless you make a ton of money. Then I mean, who cares?
Yeah,
So-
kind of like all conversation, it kind of just boils down to a lot of this is just decided by money. Like, I do think there is part of it that they are attempting to, or I think we have the technology to make like an extremely efficient car, like a car that could go for hundreds of miles on one tank of gas. And I mean, we can already
made
kind of
one
do that.
that was 283 miles to a gallon.
Yeah, I think we absolutely have the technology to do that, but we don't because people, all them big oil companies want all your gas money.
So I can give you the reason why that statement isn't 100% true. So the VW car, they got 300 whatever miles to the gallon. They made 100 of them.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, those are cool.
Immediately, yeah, no, they're like from the early 2000s.
Yeah, they're like 09 or 08 or something like that. Yeah, 07.
So immediately upon announcement of they were making 100 of them and they would be for sale worldwide, U.S. government banned the sale of that car in the U.S.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was I think the reason was safety, right?
It's always some car. We're protecting the children.
It was air quote safety.
Yeah.
No, it was 100% fucking oil lobbyists.
They were like money.
They're like, if the word gets out about this car and like people actually get their hands on it, the world's over for us. Because everybody's going to be driving cars that get 300, 400, 500 miles to the gallon. They have to fill up 6 times in their entire oil change period. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, but that's kind of my argument with like electrical vehicles, right? Like if I mean, I know they do the same thing with electrical companies. They only if you live in this certain area, you have to use this specific electrical company, and they'll charge you out your ass because they're the only one they can use. But if we just narrow it down, right, to fewer types of power output, so instead of having gas and electric, we just have electric. We can start to like narrow it down, whittle it down to get all the prices down. Whereas when we're relying on both of them, then they can just kind of like they could just like continue jacking up the prices on both, and it's harder to manage both sides because now you have them both fighting against each other. So they're like, you think we're bad? Go check out Suddenlink and how bad they are with all their premium packages. And then Suddenlink's go check out Exxon.
Suddenlink. That's lit.
And
you know what I find really interesting?
Gigs with Suddenlink.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting that we're not getting more pushback from the gas and oil industry with electric cars. And I think the reason why is because they make more money on the production of like the gathering of resources and the actual manufacturing of those vehicles than they do actual gas vehicles, because the way you have to harvest precious metals and such to make electric cars is through strip mining, and that takes way more oil and gas and diesel to do than cars in general, like all production vehicles with the freighters and everything like that, and the massive dump trucks and mining equipment.
Yeah.
So I'm
What
kind of
happens when
curious
we make
how.
those electric?
That's a long way away.
Yeah, it is.
I think so. It'd be really interesting. Now that would be a cool future if everything was electric, because I
Yeah.
think like if you could just have everything running off of renewable resources, but I don't think it's exactly possible.
I think it's possible.
At
It
some
may not be
point-
possible, yeah, like right now with the technology we have, but I think it will be the future, which is why I think we should attempt to push towards it.
I'm kind of curious though, because I mean, what if it can't be done? Right? Like in theory, what if we try the electric thing, we try the renewable resources thing, and we find out that it's actually more harmful to the earth to do that than it is to, which I mean, I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, just theoretically. I mean, what if that's what happens? We get to that point where we're like, oh shit, this wasn't the right move.
Well, then we transition into nuclear power and go full Fallout.
Oh, that's something cool. Did y'all see that like plasma laser thing that they fired off that created more energy than it used to fire?
Oh,
So we're getting I was like one step closer to actually having nuclear fusion like energy.
oh yeah.
So we're actually nearing up on that to so we may in theory have a Fallout-esque like world where
Cars with
everything is
reactors
nuclear.
in 'em.
Yeah, that'd be sick, dude. I'd
Well,
totally drive a
so-
nuclear car.
Well, now I kind of want to hear you guys' opinion on nuclear energy. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it, but from what I do know, I think it's the next step of technological advancement.
I feel like this is a great one for Brandon. Brandon's usually the knower of things.
I don't actually know a whole lot about nuclear.
Disappointment. You've let me down.
Isn't Russia
Yeah.
really big on nuclear energy?
I believe so.
They're too busy with Ukraine to really.
Yeah,
Ooh, yeah.
we're gonna stay
Yeah.
out of that. I mean,
Hey, I want to talk about that.
I think the real major holdback factor of viable countrywide nuclear energy is because of fucking Chernobyl.
Yeah. Well,
Because,
it's like,
I mean, it's like, oh, this is 99% safe, but
when it
here's
goes
this
wrong.
1% chance, and nobody can live in that area for 3,000 years. So it's the scare of,
yeah, the possible outcome of it.
well, this could happen.
Yeah. Well, that's like to draw a line between what we were talking about earlier. They do the same thing with marijuana, right? They're like, oh, if you smoke marijuana, you're gonna be a good-for-nothing, lazy, stay-at-home piece of shit. They
Yeah.
like draw on the extreme negatives of it, where like I'm all for it, man. If we definitely need to get better about dealing with the waste and but they're really good about the safety procedures of it now.
Oh yeah.
Like
And mind you,
just the fact that the example you pulled up was Chernobyl. How long ago was that? Like that was a long time ago, and that was the
like-
most previous one, right?
I think it was like the 80s.
Yeah, so just the fact that we haven't had another one melt down like that in 20, 30 years. Wait, no, 40 years at this point I think it's a good thing.
Well, yeah, because I mean, of course, Chernobyl's the most famous one, and it did cause the most damage out of a nuclear reactor meltdown. Because, like I said, that land is unlivable for about 3,000 years. Which means that's a chunk out of the world that nobody will live in for centuries.
I mean, are you sure? I swear, not to like undermine you, but I swear I saw a report or something about them being like, oh yeah, no, Chernobyl's pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, as far as its radioactivity or radioactiveness,
I mean, I could
it's
just be pulling that out of my ass, but
I don't know if you can live there,
yeah, probably
but I
not.
think you can visit. I know you can visit. I think there are people who live there though. I swear I saw a video or something about people who actually live there.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
don't
not.
know.
I'm not 100% about that. I think the biggest problem with nuclear energy is waste disposal or waste
So,
containment and storage.
Absolutely.
the exclusion zone of Chernobyl is 1,000 square miles where radioactive contamination is highest and public access and habitation are restricted. So
Okay.
that means
Yeah, we can't.
1,000 square miles of the Earth
Isn't that?
is just closed off.
Yeah, but it's in the middle of Russia. No one goes there anyways.
It's only because the Russian government says so, and
I mean,
fuck
maybe,
you, you
but
can't-
let
won't do what you tell me.
I mean, you're making a valid point, right? Like when it goes wrong, it goes wrong. Like it goes real wrong.
And I'm arguing that that's why it hasn't been more widely accepted.
Yeah,
Because
there's a
yes,
stigma and a
we do have nuclear reactors in the U.S. that are still running.
Hell yeah.
But the reason that there's not more of them is because of that. It's because it'll come to city council or whatever. They're like, hey, we want to build a nuclear reactor here. And all their councilmen are like, but what if it happens like Chernobyl? All of us will be dead. We won't be able to live here. We'll have to move. So it's still just a fear thing of,
yeah.
oh, well, it can blow up. And we've seen one in recent memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're fucking 85, yeah. I mean, like all other politicians, yeah. It's recent memory because
Like when I was a young boy, them Russians were getting exploded by them
Yeah.
atoms.
but it's one of those. It's something that's taught in school. Chernobyl was taught in school.
Yeah.
It's something that I mean, they've got apparently a pretty good documentary series or
I still
just
haven't
series,
watched
I don't
it.
know.
I really should.
I haven't either. But it stays in the front of people's minds of, well, this could happen, so fuck that. We're not gonna build one here.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is where technological advancement is extremely important, because if we can find a way to, not have things explode into giant fireballs of death that consume all living matter, then we can have unlimited power.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, but you got to get over that.
What do we do with unlimited power, though?
Get rid of gas.
Ooh, you know what? There's some country that just started universal basic income or whatever it is. Let me see if I can find out which one it is.
Oh, like no
It's
matter what
probably
you make, you're making at least this.
Yeah, something like
one
that.
of them like Netherland kind of countries.
Some people that have their shit together.
I said that weird and it made me self-conscious
I
about
know,
the way I
right?
said it. So I said it to myself like 4 times. It's like Netherland?
Well, isn't there Netherland and Nederland? Like with a D?
Surely.
Is that a thing?
don't know.
So this is gonna be kind of racist.
It was mostly just the way I said land. Because
Yeah.
I never say Netherland, I say Netherlands.
Netherland, yeah.
It all kind of just cursives.
Well, Nick's looking that up. I saw some some like message in some other language, but it was basically just English, but with like some random letters thrown in here and there, like an like extra Z's and Y's, but you could just read it. Like I was just reading it like English, and I was like, oh man, this person's really bad at typing. And then someone was like, oh no, that's this whole other language. I was like, oh, well, I feel bad.
I think I'm figuring it out. Wales. Yeah, I think so. I think it's Wales.
So that
Every
was
adult. Yeah, it says Wales has become the latest country to explore the idea of universal basic income, which gives every adult a fixed amount of money regardless of their employment status. So I guess even if you don't have a job, you still get paid a set amount of money, which is something that I'm very interested in because if we can get to a level of automation to where everything is automated for us,
Mhm.
then theoretically we wouldn't have to have a job.
Yeah. But I also think that with automation comes more jobs because somebody still has to maintain all of these things.
Yeah, but you would have other automation to maintain the automation, right?
Yeah, but then who
Like if
maintains the automation of the automation?
I work in IT, it's called redundancy. Okay, so you have redundant automation, so that if the current working automation fails, you have a backup automation that then takes over until that second automation, that for the original automation, is repaired by automated robots. And if those automated robots fail, there's another set of automated robots. I mean, in theory, eventually we may get to that level of automation and
Yeah.
AI to where everything will be. I mean, because there was a car that came out that had like self-healing capabilities, essentially, to where like if it got scratched, it would self-heal.
Interesting.
So there could be that, and I can't remember. That was definitely a thing I saw where a car had self-healing paint because it had like nanites or something in it, or some kind of weird technology.
Yeah.
It would basically like auto refill itself or smooth itself back out, which is really interesting. I
Yep.
would love to have that.
Yes, same. Because saying technological.
Jimmy, if you say technological advancements one more time, I'm
Technological
driving to your house
advancements
and kicking you right
I
in
just
the
like
left
I just
shin
like
bone.
saying it now.
Good point though.
I don't know
Really
because
interesting.
well, so I then you kind of start getting into the Star Trek utopian future where you don't have to pay for anything. Everything's just kind of done for you. Everyone just has access to a little box that'll make you a steak whenever you want it, and that true utopia right there, which will never
it
happen.
all
But
wraps back around to Wally.
man, the day.
Facts.
Golly, I just choked on my spit a little bit.
Get
You got me
Mr.
excited talking about
Technological
Wally.
Advancement.
Technological. Why don't I just have a freaking catheter? Is not the right word. What's the one that just pumps food into your stomach?
Well,
Is that a catheter?
Feeding tube?
no.
It's just
Yeah,
called
I
a
think that's
feeding
what it is.
I
tube.
feel like there's another word for it, but yeah, why
I mean, there's
why
probably a
don't we
technical
all
name.
just have little feeding tubes that just pump all the nutrients we ever want into our stomachs so we don't ever have to eat again? That's all I
Because
want in life.
people enjoy the experience of food.
So basically what you're saying is we need to get rid of human enjoyment altogether and then we can live in a perfect world.
Yes. Essentially,
Yeah.
if everybody thought logically and acted
essentially,
logically, yeah, you're not wrong.
Because then essentially we're just a fucking hive mind that doesn't have our own fucking wants and needs.
Yeah,
Isn't that what we already are?
kind of.
It
Well,
was
so
go ahead.
well, I'm just gonna throw a hypothetical at y'all. It
I'm ready for it.
would being a hive mind where everybody works together with selfless abandon to make a completely perfect world, but nobody enjoys it. Like nobody has fun, nobody loves, nobody lives life. Is that better than what we're doing now?
It depends.
Where everybody's
I mean,
just kind of out for themselves for the most part. Not
in
not
theory,
100%.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things for the individual, no, but for the like betterment of everyone, yes.
Obviously, that's what I'm asking though. Is the
'Cause-
the individual's enjoyment more important than the civilization's advancement?
To a degree, I think. I would think to a degree, right? Because if you're just wasting time and not contributing at all, then that's obviously a problem. But if all your life is just working and not actually enjoying your life, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know?
So there needs to be like a good balance in there somewhere
Yeah, I
Where-
think so.
where you work 2 hours a day and then play video games the rest.
Well, it's like a lot of places are moving to 4-day work weeks instead
Yeah.
of 5,
Which would
and
be
10-hour
so good.
days. Oh yeah.
That'd be great. 'Cause I
My-
already work
My whole
10-hour
argument,
days.
my whole argument, I had it with my dad one time. I was like, man, I wish I had more days off every week. And he's like, well, you have 2. And I was like, yeah, but Friday night is just me being a lazy piece of shit because I'm recovering from, like, work. Saturday is me doing absolutely nothing so that I can, justify my weekend. And then Sunday is me mentally preparing myself for the work week. So if I had like another day in the middle, I feel like I would get stuff done, right? Like I have Saturday to be a lazy piece of shit, and then Sunday to get things done, and then Monday to wallow in my existential dread about the work week.
And see, this is where it comes down to: is the individual's enjoyment, more important than the betterment of all of society? And I think philosophically, every person just wants to enjoy their life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if not motivated to do so, they will not better society. You have to have a certain motivation to actually work towards a better future.
Yeah. But
Which
so
is
then, no,
where I mean, human physiology it just won't allow that. Being conscious beings isn't going to allow that. Unless we all get them musk nets in our brain and they reprogram our brain to only think about the general collective.
Yeah.
It will not happen.
Yeah. I agree.
I think it's
Because
I think a lot of it comes down to the school, like public school system too, because and just human nature in general, because we seek instant gratification, whereas that's not exactly the best thing for dopamine production.
Yeah.
Because right, you don't want to have to work for something, right? Like you want to do the least amount of work possible to get the most amount of return. So as soon as there's no, need for, I guess, or nothing like motivating you for that later gratification, right? Because I mean, if it's easier to just sit down and do nothing and you still get gratified by it, I mean, you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
Instinctually, like you're gonna go for the easiest option because you want to do the least amount of work for the most amount of pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
Or for just whatever. Even though I think it's because we're not really aware of what that later gratification might be or if it's worth it. So
Yeah.
once you get a taste for it, though, I mean, people can become addicted to work in a way, right? Because they feel like they're doing something more, even though they're really not bettering their own life. They're just like a lot of people I know are workaholics, and they'll just work and work and work and work and work because they feel like that's what they have to do.
Well, and there's also there is just a sense of really like gratification is the best way to put it. Of after a 12-hour day of work, you just come home, take a shower, and just lay down and go, I'm so tired, but I feel great because I got so much accomplished today. And then you go to bed. Like, there's something about that that's just way more gratifying than just being a lazy piece of shit. But isn't like the goal of us always to be like as making it as easy as possible on the next generation as we can, right? Like, isn't that kind of like the idea of we want them to have an easy life so that, you know, they don't have to do all the work that we did? So shouldn't it evolve at some point to just everybody being in Wall-E and being in little chairs and
I mean, yeah, that's always the goal of parenthood, is to go through it so your kids don't. But it's always going to be that. It's never not going to be that. Unless it's a 100% non-independent utopia. Because then it's just, well, so then what's the point? If everybody doesn't have their own wants, all of their needs are provided, what's the point on continuing?
Well, at that point, it becomes like exploration and really finding your true self and just enjoying life.
yeah,
Right? Because there's a lot of things you can do. Now, I get what you mean, though, in a different aspect, right? Because if we live in a society, people in that society, theoretically, if we're that advanced, people would live a lot longer because the um, fatality rate has gone up and up and or down or whatever it is. The average age that people live to is continuously going up.
Yeah.
And so at that point, whenever everything is automated and you can basically do whatever you want without having to worry about working or doing anything, life would get kind of boring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why life is enjoyable, is because you have the sucky times, which then make the good times even better because you know what it's like for life to suck. So whenever life doesn't suck at all, it's all boring.
But see, I think that mindset is kind of stuck in our current technological advanced state. Where like
Jeremy,
once we
please go fuck yourself
I'm
really
gonna
hard.
keep saying it, but like yeah, right now, because even I, a person who loves being alone, I cherish every moment I have alone. Once it gets like, and I don't want to say it. I don't want to say a number because I feel like it's going to be too much. I was going to say like 4 weeks. Once it's 4 weeks of me not having interacted with anybody, I start like craving that social interaction, right? Like I want to do something. Like I want to go out and get something done. But I feel like once we advance to we technologically advance to the place where humans do have the ability to everybody just lay around and not do anything, we will come up with something else to give us that sense of like accomplishment.
Yeah, true. I mean, like, because then people could start doing art more and actually like being creative. Like, because if you look at current society, we're moving in that direction, anyways. I mean, people who are in the entertainment industry usually make the most money out of anybody as like having a regular job. If you know, putting regular in air quotes.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like we're kind of moving in that direction. I mean, art is super expensive.
Oh yeah.
People in movies and TV make tons of money for, you know, not really contributing anything. Right? All of the most expensive things and people who get paid the most really aren't big contributions to society.
I would say that they are still contributing though in a big
They
way.
are, but not in a way of like we need them to survive.
Not
Like,
in
we
they
could
don't
lose all sources of entertainment, art, and everything like that, and still survive as a society. But it would just be
contribute to the
really hella boring.
technological advancement.
I say they do though, Brandon, because part of technological advancement is getting creative with it, learning, like looking at things from different directions, where a lot of like actors and creative types do that. They like to pick a situation out and be like, how can we go about this a different way, which is a different form of technological advancement.
In theory, though, mental health would be a whole different story, right? Because if you don't have the stress of worrying about paying for food and necessities, like if you don't have that stress, wouldn't you mentally be in a better place?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
In theory.
I mean, I'm just 100%. If I like, the majority of my stress comes from having like bills to pay and responsibilities of things I have to get done. Whereas, like, if I like, so you always like hear it from older people, like my grandpa, for example. He's been of the age to retire, and he could have retired for like 15 years now. And he retired for a couple months and then went, I'm bored, I'm going to go work again, just because he wanted to. So, like, I feel like once we get to the point where humans don't have to do things, we get to a stage where we start advancing even faster.
Possibly, that's totally possible in my opinion. Because then our attention would be focused solely on. It could go two different ways. I think we could either become a more selfless society where all we want to do is better each other's lives and really just enjoy human interaction. Really enjoy each other, essentially, enjoy life. Or we could become completely selfish, not want to help anybody, and just focus on ourselves. And
yeah,
So-
I feel like
Y'all are arguing that in a society where everything's provided,
Mhm.
we'll be able to focus on advancing.
in a way, yeah.
But
I
if
think
we're-
I think
but if- but-
more on a philosophical sense, yes.
But if we're already advanced enough to be at a level of everything is sufficient, everything is provided for, where's the motivation to advance? Where does that motivation come from?
Well, see, I think the motivation comes from, like, saying that everything is provided doesn't really mean that everything is provided. Like, you can have all your food, all your physical activities, entertainment, your sense of gratification. You can have all this. You can have all of this provided to you in some way or the other, but there are still people that aren't okay with not advancing, which sounds
Okay,
it's
and
like-
so, who are the people today advancing?
I mean,
It's
there's
the people who aren't okay with not advancing.
I think
exactly.
okay, so to talk on that, what Brandon's saying, where's the motivation? Look at back in the westward expansion. What's it called? Manifest Destiny, stuff like that. We had just finished the Revolutionary War against Britain and everything, and we were just expanding westward, and it was getting into the cowboy days. They had that motivation to expand for land and just a better life for them, or to create their own thing. I think if you were born back then, if you're a person back then living in that society, thinking about today's society, you would also ask the same kinds of questions. Where's the motivation if you can just work a job and a regular 9-to-5 job, make your money? Where's that motivation to progress? People and naturally crave more constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, you have people who get addicted to food. You have people who are just insane bodybuilders. I mean, people want for perfection, absolute perfection or more, right? I mean, there's absolutely no reason for us to ever need to travel to space and become a multiplanetary species. Will that happen in the future? I believe yeah. Because people get bored. We get bored, and so we find ways to entertain ourselves or give ourselves purpose. I think no matter what, no matter what kind of society we live in, human beings will always crave more and always want more.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it right on the head.
Because people are just greedy. I mean, naturally.
Yeah.
We not in a sometimes not in a bad way. We it's well, greedy isn't the right word, I guess.
I think it is, but I think it can, as long as you're greedy for like the
More.
right things. Yeah, like
you want people just crave more. We always want more.
yeah, which it's kind of a like the optimistic way of looking at it, I suppose. But I do think that like in our mindset now, we have the big things of you need more money, you need housing, you need food, medical care, all this stuff. That's the things we're like, oh, if these were provided, we could do whatever we wanted. Whereas, like Nick was saying, back in like the medieval ages, they were like, oh, I just don't want to get stabbed with a sword. If we had that, we would have everything we wanted. And so, like, it's just
Right,
just a matter of perspective.
Well, before there was the combustion engine and cars and such, I mean, nobody even cared. Nobody cared. Everybody wanted the fastest horse. And now we've transitioned to cars, and now we're going to go electric. So everybody's going to want the fastest electric car, the nicest electric car. We always are sitting there craving more.
Then we're going to go from electric cars to hover cars, and then from hover cars to teleportation, and then
I just think the desire that humans have naturally to be ever expansive, kind of like in the Warhammer 40k universe.
Oh, nice.
There's
Speaking of which, Warhammer 3 came out today or yesterday. Y'all should buy it and play it with me.
I'm down. But there's that whole thing with the Imperium where it's just like constantly taking over planets. Like they're seeking, because their purpose and what they strive for is killing all heretics, making everybody a worshiper of the Emperor, the God Emperor of mankind. That's if in their minds, if everybody did that, followed their rules and their laws, that's what they crave. That's what they strive for. So there's always going to be that human nature to strive for something. We will manufacture something, which is what we do a lot with wars and such. We manufacture a need to do it.
Yeah. And it's definitely kind of a bit of a like an optimistic point of view where like, yeah, we're always going to try harder. But I mean, I think just our history as a species has proven that, yeah, we do just keep kind of pushing forward. Like they refer to the Renaissance as like one of the high points of humanity because people were provided for more or less, at least at those times. And so they just spent their time painting pictures and doing what they thought was fun so that we could keep advancing forward.
I think that was the first step in real civilization, like the real step forward into actual civilizations where things started becoming more urban.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, back in the medieval days, there were kingdoms. So, which I love the phrase that kingdoms were run by kings and emperors were run by kings, and now we have countries.
Yeah.
Which, if you're completely oblivious, are run by cunts. So, if you're completely oblivious.
Well, so Jeremy's looking at it from the optimistic view. I guess I'm looking at it a bit of a pessimistic view because I'm also viewing it under the general population. Because it's not the general population that designs fucking rockets that make it to the moon.
Facts.
That's a sliver of a fraction of a percent of the general population. It's not the general population that discovers the next big theory in black hole physics. It's a sliver of a fraction of a sliver of a percent of the population.
Yeah, it's like
so
1%.
Saying that as a humanity, yes, we've advanced because we've had excellent individuals. General population doesn't.
Well, but
doesn't. They don't.
I think your argument there is proving our argument exactly, though, is that even if there's only 10 people that want to advance, they will make the advance happen.
I get what Brandon's saying. I get it. Right, you're saying like Elon Musk, he's really the pioneer for us becoming a multiplanetary species, and he's really the one driving technological advancements the most as far as like out there kind of shit. Like the brain chip and SpaceX and Tesla. Like
Yeah.
he himself has pushed a lot of that, but he wouldn't be able to do any of that without the general populace. So it's more of a joint effort, right?
Yeah.
I think though you have a point where if you look at it pessimistically, it could get to the point to where shit becomes like tyrannical,
Yeah,
right? Like
because
you
I
have.
mean,
Go ahead.
it would end up being just the general population is fucking useless because we have automated manufacturing, automated this, automated that. So people are just not going to have stuff to fill their time. So they're going to end up not enjoying it. Like, yeah, we sit at home every day, but what do I have to do at home? I've done everything. Or, like, yeah, you say they could fill their time with art and science, but where's their motivation for doing that?
Well, their
Wherein
motivation is that they
today's
want something to
society-
do.
Well, yeah, but it's also there's no like, what is the monetary value in that? What is the value other than, oh, I'm doing something?
Well, see, I think that's kind of the point I'm trying to make very poorly, is that once we hit this point, we will be past our current conceptions of money. Like we won't be thinking about it like, oh, I want to do this so I'll get paid. It'll be more of, I want to do this so that I'm doing this.
Also, your own self gratification.
Yeah.
Kind of whatever gets you hard, Whatever tickles your pickle, you'll.
I mean,
you'll kinda,
kind of
you'll,
though.
you'll,
Like it. I feel like, I know I'm not making sense, but it's not people will just advance because they're like, oh, I need to advance the human race. They'll advance because they're like, man, I'm bored as fuck. I've watched Office 3.0 12 billion times. And Michael Scott can only say so many off the wall shits before I just lose my mind. And they're like, well, what am I gonna do today? And they're like, I kind of want to draw. I'm just gonna draw some stuff, and then they just start drawing stuff.
Yeah, true.
I mean, fair enough, but I don't know. Y'all's arguments make sense, but something deep down in me just disagrees with them fundamentally. It just, I don't know what it is. Just, they don't, it doesn't seem satisfying to me.
You know what I think? What I think is like more of a possibility than the future being fully autonomous. I think there's gonna be a fall. I feel like there's gonna be, at some point, something's gonna happen to where it's just the fall of humanity. Not necessarily the extinction, but the fall, where we'll be set back.
Like the Dark Ages. Like
Essentially,
it'll
I
be
think
another Dark Ages.
I think it'll hit a point to where something or some, like, we're getting more and more powerful. It's been a long time since there's been any kind of cataclysmic event. I think there'll be something that'll happen. Something, because in history, if you look back, empires and really big like utopias don't last.
Yeah.
They just never do. And I think there's something with that Brandon makes a good point. Fundamentally, I think he's right, and I don't think any of that'll happen. And if it does, I don't think it'll last very long.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like, but that's kind of, in my mind, it definitely will probably collapse a bunch of times, but that's kind of like the a small section of it, right? Like human civilization at this point has already risen and collapsed dozens of times, and we're still further along than we've ever been.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I mean, it'll kind of be like the fall, and then it will come back stronger kind of deal.
Yeah.
The idea that easy time or hard times make hard men make easy times, easy times make soft men make hard times.
Yeah,
cycle.
it's all a cycle of it. Yeah. But then every time we come out of the cycle, we're one step ahead. It's kind of like this game I'm playing at the moment called Deathloop, which is a roguelite. You go through this loop, and every time you complete the loop, you're slightly better equipped to handle the loop, so then you get through it faster and quicker. And then eventually you've gone through the entire loop without dying and murdering all the visionaries, and you have all the slabs and all the upgrades, and you're just zipping around space and time doing whatever you wanted.
Return the slab.
It all comes back to video games.
I'm getting to that point where I feel like I'm too old. Most of the kids won't recognize that reference. Fucking Courage the Cowardly Dog, dude. That was my shit.
That show always freaked me out.
That was the weirdest fucking episode. Return the fucking slab.
Yeah.
That actually used to scare me, dude. That's one thing we should talk about is like how old TV shows would have like the creepiest and scariest fucking episodes.
Yeah, I mean,
like Courage the Cowardly Dog,
episode.
I used to love, but dude, some of the episodes in that shit would fuck me up. Go ahead, Brandon. Whatever you were trying to say.
I don't remember now.
This has turned into South Park, and it's
I was just gonna go back earlier and say, I don't think humanity will ever be utopic. So there will never be a utopia of human civilization.
I think it's more likely to become a dystopia.
I don't know what the difference is, but
dystopia.
A utopia is a perfect world. A dystopia is like a
complete chaos hell world.
Yeah, it's kind of like.
Fair enough.
Well, I feel like in my mind, a dystopia is more so something that's like a world where everybody's a slave, like not without knowing it, and there's no way out, right? Like you have to participate in the. It's kind of like what we have now with people saying we're wage slaves. Except, there's plenty of ways to make money except for working a 9 to 5.
Yeah, prostitution. What?
Hell yeah, dude. Sell my body. I'll just start selling pictures of my butthole online.
I'd buy them.
Of course you would. You're lonely.
Just to support a friend, all right?
Hell yeah, dude. Jeremy wants to see my balloon knot.
Oh God. I regret.
I love calling it. That's my favorite word, or synonym for butthole is balloon knot.
Jeremy,
Yes.
you want to glaze Nick's chocolate donut, don't you?
You know it. For only
Hell
a
yeah.
small fee.
From philosophy to balloon knots, bro.
Krispy
Just
Kreme.
like that.
Does anyone else take
Krispy
that
Kreme
180?
glazes their donuts before they put chocolate on top. Not Jeremy. Puts that chocolate on top, then glazes it.
Yeah.
Probably sent
Gross.
the weirdest text message I've ever sent. It was
Oh,
in a
yeah?
group chat, and nobody responded to it. So there was a picture sent, and it's of this girl putting like vegetable oil in her car as regular oil.
Oh,
And
nice.
My buddy said she's good to go, and another buddy responded, "I prefer olive oil in my car, thanks." And then another buddy, so it's a 4-man group chat, me and 3 other guys. And then another one of them says, "Nah, bro, you need the extra virgin olive oil." And one of them says Picasso with a little Italian hand. And then I come in, my fucking dickhead ass. I say, I just come in all my vehicles daily, give them that super virgin slick,
Oh,
and
gross.
no one responded.
Gross.
Everybody's like, oh,
it
that's
was-
too much.
Yeah, I feel like all of them just saw that and was like, you know what? That's where I say yick. Just a big old yick to that.
Oh,
Well, it's just
Hey,
one of those where
going-
I'm like, how do I respond to this?
That's me. Like I feel like I say the off the wall shit that people are just like, I don't know how to deal with you right now.
but You just saying somebody pouring olive oil or oil into their car. Bring it back to fucking old diesels. Them
Old
motherfuckers
cars.
would burn anything.
Dude, facts like the
You-
6.2 Detroit that is in that 91. Dude, you can
Uh-huh.
straight up take the oil you drained out of it and pour
Uh-huh.
it in the gas tank.
Yeah. Oh no, that bacon grease you just cooked with this morning? Pour that in there.
Oh, dude, ATF, fucking olive
Whatever the
oil,
fuck you put
whatever
in
you
there,
want.
it'll fucking burn it.
It's insane. Now new diesels will just pop. Like, oh, what's this? Not diesel?
Yeah.
They're so. That's another thing I don't
Oh.
like about new vehicles. They're so damn picky.
Nick, have you seen the video of the dude that put diesel in his DEF tank?
No. How did that turn out?
It shot flames like 7 feet out of the fucking exhaust pipe.
Dude, that sounds dope. You'd watch me
Right?
fucking watch me buy a new diesel, like a newer Duramax.
Absolutely fucking wreck it.
Oh yeah, I just be like, all right, well, just because it's cool. That would be
Yeah.
kind of sick though. It's like they used to do the old school trick where they would put an injector or a spark plug and an injector in their exhaust.
Yeah.
That to me is one of those things. Like,
see, that's exactly what you're doing because fucking the DEF system injects the DEF into the fucking
DPF filter.
DPF, and it's saying DPF filter is kind of like saying rip in peace.
It's like
Or
saying
ATM machine.
or like NIC card, so their network interface cards.
Card, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate it whenever people say NIC
so
card. I'm like, just say NIC.
So saying DPF filter is just saying diesel particulate filter.
Yeah, I know. I realized as soon as I said it, you're
What?
gonna fucking say something. I knew it too.
I had to. It's
I
like
felt you sitting there quivering too. You're like,
Oh, I
oh,
was.
good.
my hands started shaking. I was like, it's coming. It's like saying ramen noodles. You're just saying noodles.
Wait, is ramen noodles in like I was about to say Spanish.
It's
Ramen is
yeah,
In
noodles.
Japanese.
yeah,
And
it
them
is.
Good old
So you're
Japs.
just saying noodles. But anyways, it's an injector that goes it sprays in the front of the fucking DPF and it fucking closes it down, makes it super hot to where shit burns out. So if you put diesel in that tank, you're just injecting diesel into a system that's already hot as shit, and so it just catches on fire.
I really hope at some point we get popular enough to where we can get like really smart people on here, so I can ask them.
Whoa.
So I can like get people who are like from the EPA, which I'm gonna say it right now. The EPA can go suck a big bag of dicks for what they're trying to do to the racing community right now.
Wait, what?
But-
Well, hold on. I need to hear more about this. What?
Oh, dude, you don't know? You don't know about that? So the EPA is trying to enact something. I forget what it's called. There's a whole thing fighting it, which is I think is called the RPM Act. The EPA is trying to make it to where you can't modify a factory vehicle in any way. So you can't like take old or even like any production vehicle. They're basically trying to make it to where no production vehicle can be modified for race application. So you would have to take and custom make entire chassis for like drag racing or drifting or rally racing. So all of these massive markets that are currently like being fed by the car community and the racing community would die.
But don't they already pretty much custom build most of their race cars?
No, like rally uses production chassis, drifting uses production chassis, drag racing on like the non like NHRA like
non-top fuel
very
circuit.
like top fuel like stuff. They all use production chassis and cars. They'll do like tube front ends and tube rear ends, and some people do full tube chassis. But that's whenever you start getting into like pro mods and like stuff like that. GT racing, so like all the GT like cup cars and stuff. I mean, like all of these massive racing industries that, and even just aftermarket shit for street cars, would all be gone. That's a huge point of employment. It's a huge moneymaker because car parts are not cheap, especially performance ones.
Yeah. Eh. I don't know why they're doing that, and honestly, at first sound it doesn't
Emissions.
sound
It's
very.
it's because of like people modifying their cars for like
Yeah,
it's
give them a
basically
max power and less. It's just efficiency. I don't know.
it's essentially government
Eh.
trying to play daddy.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
but that
No,
isn't that the whole
because
point of
all it is.
government?
It's just a power move.
Jeremy says shit about efficiency. I didn't do a whole lot to my pickup. I put a couple of power adders on there. When I first got my pickup, it got 10 miles to the gallon.
Mhm.
I did some shit to it. I probably spent maybe $1,000 on it. And I got 12.5 miles to the gallon. So modding cars isn't all about make the most power, go the fastest, shit like that.
Yeah.
Part of modding cars, especially like people who drive pickups, yeah, they would rather have more gas mileage. So they can add a tuner that tunes the ECM of the truck to burn a little bit different, do a couple different things, and get a few more miles to the gallon. You're
Yeah, like a
adding
little-
power at the same time, but that's to make up for, oh, well, the weight of this truck should be driven by this amount of power. And so when you get to that amount of power, it becomes more efficient.
Yep.
Because your engine's working less to do the same amount of work.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm 100% for if you buy something, it is yours and you should be able to modify it any way you want.
And see, I agree, right? Because even if you made it to where you couldn't like, it made them not street legal. I'm okay with that. But they're trying to take and make it to where you cannot modify any production car into a race car. So like, all of those industries would die. Like there would be no longer any World Rallycross. There wouldn't be drifting. There wouldn't be drag racing. There wouldn't be GT. There wouldn't be all of these things because people can't afford to. Feasibly, it doesn't make any sense to build custom chassis for these kind of things.
It would only be the pro competition teams that would be in it. It would completely nullify it for a hobbyist. It would
Yeah.
completely nullify it for the general population.
Yeah, like there would be
So-
no more track days, no more like just enjoying your weekend with your car. Like that whole hobby would die essentially.
So it would end up hurting technological advancement
It really would.
because
misinterpreted my meaning of technology. Even failed advancement is advancement.
no, but is stifling advancement?
Yes,
Because I
in a
I
way.
can absolutely fucking
I'm just
hell.
being contrarian
Hey,
at this point.
you can't advance. Oh, what? I'm advancing.
I'm gonna find a way to advance without your advance.
So I will 100% say 99% of the modifications made to cars over the last 100 years have come from the racing industry.
100%.
Because the
100%.
racing industry is the person who goes for the most power, goes for the highest efficiency, because they want.
That's how you win.
So take NASCAR for an example, just because
Oh, dude.
it's the longest race I know of. So they're not trying to make the absolute damn most power.
No,
They
and that's
need to
been
make-
proven because of restrictor plates.
Yeah,
They put
need to
restrictor
make.
plates on the cars.
Yeah, they need to make an amount of power that's going to be able to go fast as fuck for the longest amount of time. Because the longer you can go between a pit stop, the faster your race goes because you're stopped less.
I think a
And
better
so-
example for what you're trying to say would be like the
24
24 hours
hours
of
Le
Le Mans.
Mans.
Yes,
Yep.
I think that's a better example.
Yeah.
Because NASCAR, the restrictor plates and everything, that was like a safety thing, which only made it more dangerous. But 24 hours of Le Mans is like pure perfection.
yeah,
Like
because
that is the pursuit of making a perfect, reliable, powerful handling car.
but then all of the aerodynamic theories that car companies use, it comes from F1 because those motherfuckers know how to do aerodynamics.
They really do. God
All
damn,
of your
dude.
all of your traction control technology, that comes from F1, it comes from rallycross, it comes from trophy trucks, it comes from all of them because they all have data on how this truck or this car or this reacts on this surface, on dirt, on pavement, on wet pavement, on concrete. They have all of that. So the racing industry is what pushes car companies forward. Because
True.
without racing, it's just going to be some dude sitting in a fucking box saying, scientifically, this shape does the best. It's ugly as fuck, but it's the best.
I mean, but
Mind you,
look
the
shouldn't
Prius
have any
exists.
mind. And it's a great car, Brandon.
Hey, you
Go
got
buy
something to
one
get
right now.
boxes? Okay.
Yeah.
Go buy one right now.
I happen
If I
to
could
really
afford to buy one,
enjoy-
I might.
A Prius is a wedge. It's not a
I
box.
happen to
It's a
really
wedge.
like
It's
the
a
Scion
cheese.
XB. Okay. Are you trying to
Oh,
hate
fuck,
on my cracker
yes.
box?
Absolutely.
All right.
It's almost as bad as a Jeep
You know what?
Renegade.
Hey,
No.
whoa, okay, that's taking it a step too far. The Jeep Renegade is an absolute pile of shit.
I mean, them Kia Souls had pretty cool commercials.
Kia Souls are actually reliable to an extent. They're not quite as reliable as the Scion XB, but you
Yeah.
know.
But
The
anyways,
Jeep Renegades are turds, and
Oh,
so is any Fiat.
calling it back a little bit, Jeep Renegades have CVTs.
And they suck, and their motors
Oh, they're
suck.
so bad.
Oh my god,
They're so bad.
So the Renegade, all the Renegade is a fucking Fiat 500 with a Jeep badge and,
Yep.
and a Jeep body. They are garbage because Fiat 500s are garbage. Absolute
Yeah.
trash cars. Like the
Oh, yeah.
motors suck, the transmissions suck, the chassis suck. They're just what is with people buying turds? Like, dude, this grinds my gears and it pisses me off so bad because my coworkers who are all IT nerds, there's very few car guys in there, but all of them are like, you're always so like you hate every car. You just hate every car. I'm like, no, I only like very few cars because the vast majority of cars from the early 2000s till now suck. The vast majority of them suck. Fucking, they're just terrible. They're so unreliable. Just on a purely reliability standpoint, they are so bad. Especially the domestics. Oh my god. Like the new Bronco, they've been blowing up left and right. The new Chevy and GMC trucks, they've been losing lifters and blowing transmissions up. Mopar, I mean, they're just doing Mopar things, you know. We're gonna wear our cam lobes flat, and our lifters are just gonna the little needle bearings are just gonna seize. You know it's gonna happen. You just win.
Dim boys just be slapping fucking Hellcat motors and everything.
Oh yeah, dude, just wearing out those cam bearings. Just
They say,
let's. God.
It's got wheels. It gets a supercharger.
And now they folded. Now they're gonna go electric, and yeah, it's.
Yeah, they've
shame.
already announced the replacement for the Hemi.
I want to continue my gripe just because I have to get it out of me. GM is the worst out of all of them. I was waiting for a what? I was waiting for something.
I don't want to go any further into this topic.
But hear me out. I believe out of all three of the big three of the domestics, GM is the worst. And I, being a GM fanboy, feel like I'm justified in saying so because I'm revealing my bias. If I was going to own anything, it would be a Chevy or a GMC. But current GM, General Motors, is the worst because their trucks look like shit. The new Chevys look like shit. The new Blazer is a fucking joke. I mean, they literally have nothing but crossovers and terrible cars. You can't buy a new GM vehicle that's worth a fuck nowadays. You really can't. At least with Ford, you can go buy like an F-150 with a V8 in it that is reliable at least. And
I don't
Mopar,
know.
I mean, I will say, I would say, I'm willing to put it down that I believe that Ford and Mopar are more reliable than any GM from the factory. From the factory. Now, if you buy a new Chevy and you get one of the more heavy duty ones with a, and if you get an LS, you really need to do the cylinder deactivation delete. Really need to do that. It's really not hard and it's not that expensive. It's literally just a valley cover and some lifters. It's not that big a deal.
But hey.
In my opinion.
Hey,
What?
Chevy sticks to their guns on their fucking commercial van line. The Chevy Express has been the same
No, you got a
since
point. Yeah, you got-
2003.
Exactly,
point.
Brandon. It's
The
been the
tr-
same,
the
which is
work-
bad technological advancement.
The work van I drive is the same van from 20 years ago.
I gotta say though,
But it
GM
has-
in the off-road world is lacking so bad. What is this? What is this new Hummer?
There's a new Hummer?
Mm.
Oh,
The new
Hummers are
electric
like-
Hummer?
It-
The
it-
new-
it's-
The new $100,000 electric fucking Hummer?
The hell?
That's their off-road option? Oh yeah, Mopar, they've
What
got
did I
Jeep,
see?
which is like an affordable option. You can get the base model so you can affordably get into the off-road world. Then here comes Ford. Oh, we're bringing back the Bronco. Hooray. It's sick. This is what everybody wanted. GM, yeah, we're going to turn the Blazer into a crossover. Yeah, people will love that.
We're gonna
Oh, yeah.
turn the
We'll
Blazer
s-
into a Traverse Sport.
We'll sell so many. I rarely see Blazers, the new Blazer. I rarely see them. And when I see them, it's some white woman or white guy,
Or OJ.
like a
What?
white dad.
Or OJ.
Wait, no, he was the Bronco, right? Was he a Bronco
That was a
or
Bronco.
Blazer?
That was a Bronco.
OJ had a Bronco.
It
Yeah.
was a white Bronco.
I love that
don't
Ford
pay
came out with a new Bronco like on the same day that all went down. I
Yeah,
love
that's
that
really funny.
happened. Coincidence or not, I'm so happy that happened. Such a great homage to the history of the
Right.
Bronco.
Of the only thing the Bronco is known for, which is OJ.
Hey man, if you're known
See-
for something,
I'm like, I get heated with people because arguably the new Blazer is a nice vehicle.
no, it's
I like
no.
that. I like no.
No.
mm,
You
Let
shut
me-
your
let
mouth.
let me explain.
I don't want to. Go ahead though.
I like the way it looks. I like the
you
way the
did some-
interior looks.
Wait
Hey.
me.
Stop. Let
Yeah,
me
go ahead.
finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like the way the interior looks. If it wasn't called a Blazer.
Fair. All right. You know
Well,
what? I'm glad you made
if-
me wait
if-
till you finished.
If it was not called a Blazer, you would say that's a nice car.
Yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily like. I would probably say that it's not a
I'm-
bad car, but it's
Granted,
not something
not
that I would
something
buy.
you would buy. But
It's kind of like the
you-
Traverse or like
but if you
any
saw
of
it
their other
drive by-
crossovers.
but if you saw it drive by, you'd be like, "Oh, that's a nice car."
Yeah, cool. You know.
Yeah.
Well, see, I would
But
say
because it's called a Blazer, because a Blazer, for me, brings the memory of
K5.
the 85 K10 Blazer that my brother had,
Yeah.
that we
yeah.
rebuilt for him.
The old square bodies.
The old square body. Because I have that memory, I will never buy one of the new Blazers. Because it's not a Blazer. That's
No,
a
it's
motherfucking Traverse Sport. Because
what they
yeah, it's got some more aggressive body lines, shit like that. But it's not a Blazer. I wouldn't
no.
buy a new Bronco because that's not a Bronco. The
No, as
Bronco I
soon as
think
it
of
came
is an
out-
83 square body.
Oh, as soon as they came out with the new Bronco and it wasn't live axle in the front, I was pissed. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Mhm.
Jeep's been doing it for years. Why? Why would you give it IFS? Why is it independent front suspension? Oh, well, it makes it for better on-road handling. And I'm like, nobody cares. It's an off-roader. Nobody. Look at how many Jeeps sell every year. Oh, another thing. Just to jump off of the talking about those cars specifically. Well, kind of. It's more so
could
getting into the
talk
specifics
about
of
another
those
one.
vehicles. I want to dig into this real quick though. What's with everybody buying 4-door off-roaders?
That's because
They got
they.
families.
Well, see, this would be my yeah. Like y'all are like, it's an off-roader. Why the fuck would you give a shit about its road handling? Because it's an off-roader, but they're not selling it to people who off-road. They're selling it to people who want to say, yeah, I got me a cool fucking off-roader. You know, I could go mudding if I wanted to, and then have literally never driven off of pavement in their entire lives.
No, they hop curbs often. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Why do you think you
yeah.
see so many like teenage girls driving Wranglers, 4-door Wranglers? 4-door Wranglers is the teenage white girl's wet dream, dude.
Because
No,
I
they walk
swear.
curbs like motherfuckers.
Sam's
No.
sister drives a 4-door Wrangler.
So I'll take
personally
it.
know one. Like
I'll take my point off of off-road vehicles completely, Jeremy.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
I'll get Nick's opinion on this because I feel like he'll have one.
What about my opinion?
Fuck your opinion.
I mean, that's fair.
Technological advancement.
Well, all right, Brandon. So if you take
Shut
an
the fuck up.
off-road vehicle
Nick.
and you advance it so that it works
my
for
God.
something other than off-road, then boom, you now have two different types of vehicles.
No,
That's
you just
why
have
they're
a
called-
pussy wagon.
Anyways.
Pussmobile.
Continue
I'm
what you're
still
saying.
in the
Go
firm.
ahead,
Like,
Brandon.
I'm not gonna buy an off-road vehicle. I'm going to have a car I can drive around, and then if I really want to get into it, I'm gonna buy a truck I can fucking run off the fucking cliff and not fucking hurt it. It's gonna be a separate thing because I don't
Yeah.
want a fucking all-terrain vehicle. I
Yeah.
want something that's comfortable on the road, and I want something that's really good off-road. I don't want something kind of shitty both ways.
I agree with that because I think
Jeep-
Wranglers are turds.
A Jeep is kind of shitty both ways. Like, they're okay off-road, they're okay on the road. A fucking Bronco, I'm sure, is better on-road than it is off-road. The new Broncos. I know for a fact that a new Blazer can't go off-road because it's a fucking car.
I'm gonna say though,
Mm.
Wranglers, for all people who love Jeep Wranglers, they're turds. Okay, let's get it out of the way. They are turds. No matter what configuration you get it in, your Rubicon sucks. Okay, it's on road it is garbage. They're garbage vehicles on road, but not even that. Reliability wise, those 3.6s, the inline 4 turbos, the diesels they put in them, even the 392, they all are turds. They all have some kind of innate vulnerability. Like the 3.6s have a cylinder head problem where they'll create multiple misfires, and you have to either replace the cylinder heads or block, or like the whole motor. I'm not sure which exactly it is. The inline 4 turbos blow up all the time. The transmissions blow up all the time. Radiators crack all the time on any of them. Wranglers suck. Wranglers are overpriced turds, and I don't understand why anybody buys them unless you're just ridiculously well off. Or even
and then
then,
there's
build one. Like,
still motherfucking Willie's Jeeps, fucking surplus from fucking World War II with their
Fuck,
original motor,
Yeah.
original transmission, original axles, original suspension, original body, original seats that are still driving around today.
this is why we hate new cars. This is why they just come with innate flaws. Like the old like 06 and down Wranglers for the most part are great. Like if you can get any of them with a 4-liter straight 6 and a manual, you're golden. Like you can
Them boys
just
bulletproof.
like even like YJs are probably the best because they have leaf springs. You can just beat the absolute living dog shit out of those, and they just don't care. Don't even maintain it. Just You don't even have to change the oil. Just wait until it starts leaking bad enough to where it's draining as much as you're putting in,
Yep.
and it's changing it itself. And you can just continue that cycle, and it won't care.
Because they designed those under a time that followed strictly to the KISS rule. Keep it simple, stupid.
What's that
But
off of? I've heard
anyways-
that recently.
I don't remember. Anyways, going back to me getting this out of off-road. We're getting back on the road, boys.
Go ahead.
So, Nick,
Yeah.
the new Corvette, the mid-engine Corvette.
Yep.
Should that car have been called a Corvette?
Yeah.
You think it should have been called a Corvette?
Yeah, and I hear you. I hear you questioning my reasoning and you asking me that. So there have been constant allegations, and I mean, since I think the C4. I think the C4 was the first rumored supposed to be mid-engine Corvette. So the Corvette has been. There's been little conspiracy theories that this next Corvette's going to be mid-engine. The C4 is going to be mid-engine. The C5 is going to be mid-engine. The C6 is going to be mid-engine. They're going to make it a true supercar. And they haven't, and they haven't, and they haven't, even though all of the people who buy Corvettes want it. And I think that's why it should be called a Corvette, because I think it's the next step that the consumers want. Right, like the Blazer, the new Blazer shouldn't have been called a Blazer because that's not what the consumers wanted. In my opinion, I think fans of the Blazer didn't want that. I think they made the new Blazer for the average everyday person who has no fucking clue what a K5 or K10 Blazer is. I think that's what they did. And the new Corvette, I feel like they purposefully did that because that's what the fans wanted. That's what the people who love Corvettes wanted. And the people who love Corvettes are the people who buy Corvettes because they're expensive. Right? Like Corvettes aren't cheap. So you don't have just average everyday Joes buying them. I mean, Jeeps and Broncos and shit like that, everybody was buying them because they weren't that expensive. And I think that's kind of a problem because you start to, I think it wraps back around to whenever we were talking about quality over quantity in one of our previous podcasts where we were talking about it's the consumer's fault. And I think that's a big deal. But the the new Corvette is totally a Corvette in my mind.
Okay. So in my mind, it is absolutely, undeniably not a Corvette. Because what has every Corvette up to date been? It has been a front engine, rear wheel drive, 2-door car.
I love Jeremy's little car.
It's got some tires. It's got some doors.
Every single model has been front end, big gate, long hood, short cab, short trunk, fastback style. So sweeping back to the trunk.
Well, except for the first, like the C1 and C2. Oh no, the C1 mainly.
Yeah.
I think the C2 was the first year they actually went to what we know today as the traditional Corvette styling, right? Or was it the C3?
I can't remember if it was C2 or C3.
I don't remember. It's one of those. The C3 is my favorite just because it looks like a Batmobile.
Yeah. But they've always kind of had that swooping look, long hood, curves. So the new one that came out is arguably not the form of a Corvette.
I kind of agree now that you put it that way.
It is not the form of Corvette.
But Brandon,
so it should have been given its own namesake.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yes, I understand they want to build off of that Corvette name. The Corvette name's been around since the 60s. Cool. That boy ain't a Corvette.
But Brandon, let me ask you.
That car is not a Corvette.
Let me ask you this. If they're just doing the same thing all the time, that's lame. Shouldn't they advance it in like a technological
Jeremy,
aspect?
I will kill you.
Jeremy continuing to bring it full circle to technological advancement.
I am 100%
But
talking about technological advancement here. This is styling.
I swear to God, Jeremy's gonna come through and say, "Isn't styling
Styling
part of technological
technological
advance?"
advance.
Well, Nick,
His
since you
voice.
bring it up, you know, anything
dude.
can be an advancement, right?
So
Yeah, dude. See, I learned this new way to beat my Schmeat, which is a technological
techno
advancement.
advanced
Yeah, it's
way.
where I
Yeah.
take 40 rubber bands and just wrap it around the head until it turns purple.
That's probably not healthy.
You know, as long as you don't leave it on for a while, it's all right.
You might need to see a therapist about that one.
I need to see a therapist about a lot of things.
Don't we all? I feel like everybody should need. I feel like everybody should
Oh,
see a
man,
therapist.
I really want to go to therapy, but I don't think I can afford it, so I don't.
BetterHelp.
Same. I kind of wonder, like, I
Hey,
don't.
BetterHelp, if
I've-
you want to sponsor us.
I've heard some
Hey,
really sidebar. I've heard really bad things about BetterHelp, and in that aspect, BetterHelp don't sponsor us.
But I want to get back to Nick's opinion on the Corvette.
Yeah, yeah. I was, whenever you put it that way, in my opinion, it's kind of like the Blazer, right? They came out with that one instead of calling it a Blazer. Why didn't they call it something else?
Yeah.
Right, because and I know it comes down to these are all committees, and they're all trying to impress shareholders. But if you want to really like, and this is why I think GM is the worst right now, because they don't actually listen to the consumer. As far as all the manufacturers, in my opinion, they listen to the consumer the least, and it really shows in the cars they put out. The new Blazer, the Corvette, which I think the Corvette was in a way listening to the consumer, but it kind of put the Corvette in this price bracket that's like a step up from what the Corvette was before. The Corvette was already expensive, and the Corvette that is out today and a base model is, in my opinion, reasonably priced.
Yeah.
But it still does raise that price bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at Ford and Mopar essentially has like just been like, oh yeah, all right, you want a V8 supercharged in that? Okay, here you go. And people are like, okay, all right, cool. You want that? You want that to make more power? Yeah. Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Ford's been kind of the middle ground. You know, they came out with a new Bronco, which was a nice little homage and a nice little return to form.
They did better. Ford did better.
And they've had the F-150 that's just been pretty much class. I mean, throughout. I mean, I don't like them personally because, God, that 4.6 Triton was just was it a 4.6 or 5.4?
Any Triton.
God, Triton sucked. The two-piece spark plug thing. Ford with their spark plugs, man. What is with that?
Yeah, just being shitty.
The EcoBoost V6s have some weird fucking spark plug design, or one of their motors. I don't know. What is with Ford and these weird spark plug designs? I don't get it. There's nothing wrong with regular spark plugs. Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel?
Ford is a company that wants to go against. So, agriculture right now.
Spark plug grain. They're just like, oh man, spark plugs. That's our thing.
It's a whole part of it. So, like American agriculture right now is fighting for right to repair. So there's a whole issue going on right now.
Well, I'm kind of vague on that. So could you elaborate more on the right to repair and what that actually is like, means and everything?
So
we might need to save this for a later topic or a later podcast because we've
been going a long time.
Well past our time at this point.
What time are we at right now?
2.5.
Oh, there you go. Y'all get a little extra this time.
Basically,
we'll leave
for
it
future
off.
Reference, don't let you guys talk about cars anymore.
Oh man, me and Brandon can go off.
Oh yeah,
dude, the current car world is very, very heavily opinionated, and you'll get people who say cars are better than they've ever been, and I'm like, they are, but
Jeremy.
not for the average Joe.
Yes, Brandon.
Oh, I was just saying you're the one saying cars are better than they've ever been.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it because we'll argue for
argue
another 40 minutes.
we will give you the final point to cap off this entire 2.5 hour episode, mostly about car bullshit.
No, like the first 30
I was about to
minutes
say
to an hour of it wasn't.
we went off on like human advancement and advancement
Oh,
of
yeah,
like
we did
go
say
out
like
for a
a
while, yeah.
technological side of it. We went on that on a while.
Okay, so we'll give you the final point, then we'll close down this podcast.
All right, hit me.
Jeremy,
Yes.
are cars better now than they have and then holy shit. Are cars better now than they have ever been?
Yes. For on average,
Okay.
I would say yes.
Well,
Okay.
with that, I guess it's time to end.
I'll humbly disagree with
Yeah.
Jeremy on that one.
And if you humbly disagree with me, or if you want to ask us anything or suggest other things you want to hear us babble about for 2.5 hours, let us know. We just set up our Twitter account. Nicholas, what's the username?
Yeah, I got you. Our username is Completely Pointless Podcast. Completely Pointless is all one word with a capital C and a capital P. And a capital P on podcast. Our @ is @PointlessPods, pods being all capital, and the P in pointless being capitalized. And if you want to shoot us anything over there, go ahead, and we will happily check it out
Yeah, absolutely.
and see what you want to hear us babble and ramble about in our idiocy and ignorance.
We would love to
Jeremy.
get some hate mail from you.
Where
Oh,
can
yeah,
they
yeah.
listen
Hated
to
that.
us?
You can listen to us on rss.com, spotify.com, or youtube.com, all at Completely Pointless.
Yep, completely pointless.
We have our shit together, all right? We don't.
Hey, we're
but
working on it.
We're working on it.
We
But
just
yeah,
made our first Twitter post right before starting this episode.
boys.
So we will hopefully be posting on Twitter every time we release a new episode. So if you want to get right to it, you want to know right whenever our episodes come out, which should be weekly-ish.
yeah, usually
so far-
Sundays,
We
noonish.
try and shoot for Sundays.
If
Yeah,
we ever
so-
actually get an actual audience, it will probably become a consistent release date. But for now, just Sundays.
Hey, so
Yeah,
far
we're
we've been
just-
consistent. So if you want to know exactly when new episodes come out, check us out on Twitter.
Absolutely. All right. And with that, I hope everybody has a great week. We will see y'all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.